Okay, hopefully this is working. Right, so we're on the third week of the term already. You've had a week of acoustics, sort of according to the schedule, and this week I want you to be moving further through the acoustics module. Today, Monday, the day that I'm posting this video, is when the prospective, the first lab assignment, is done. This is not meant to be too academically taxing, just a way of making sure that you're setting your brain on the right path here. But it does need to be complete, and the assignment lays out all the bits that I want to see in there, and that's due by the end of day today. Let's see, the second transcription is up. Aside from some people not noticing that I was asking for both broad and narrow transcriptions, generally the transcriptions came through fine for the first assignment, so I expect this to be pretty good. Do watch out for, because this is, as I mentioned in my post, excuse me, as I mentioned in my post on the forum, this is sentences, not individual words, and some of the processes that we've been used to looking at in the context of within a particular word can also apply across word boundaries. So remember that when you go from, if you do a broad transcription first and then a narrow transcription or not, when you're comparing the two, watch out for 5 main processes, right? Aspiration, voiceless stops at the beginning of syllables. Nasalization, vowels before nasal consonants. Canadian raising, the I and ow diphthongs before voiceless consonants. Tapping, that's a T or a D following a stressed syllable nucleus and preceding an unstressed one. And vowel reduction, which is something that happens to vowels a lot in English when they fall in an unstressed syllable. Remember that the schwa isn't something you put there if you're not sure what happened to a vowel, right? There's a lot of, especially in English, a lot of silent E's at the end of words. That's not a schwa. If it's silent, it doesn't get pronounced, and if it doesn't get pronounced, it doesn't get transcribed. Transcriptions are descriptions of the pronunciation, so you don't put stuff in there that doesn't get pronounced. So that's 5. Aspiration, nasalization, Canadian raising, tapping, and vowel reduction are things to watch out for when you're comparing your broad and narrow transcriptions. Vowel reduction is a bit funny because it's not always clear. If you do have a schwa in the pronunciation, in the narrow transcription, it's not always clear what other vowel you should have in the broad transcription. And I often just put a schwa there unless I have a reason otherwise. Just because. Isn't that a satisfying thing to hear from an instructor? Right. Look out for misaspiration. So aspiration, technically and importantly, aspiration is when the voicelessness of a consonant spreads onto a neighboring voiced sound. So you can't have an aspirated consonant if the next sound is voiceless. Like in the word sphere, the S can't be aspirated. In English, we don't tend to aspirate fricatives anyway, but other languages do. And I think it came up in the first transcription. Some people, if I have a word like twin, the W, there's aspiration of the T, the W becomes partly voiceless. That's what the aspiration is. There's 2 ways of transcribing that. One is to put an aspiration mark after the T. The other is to put a little voiceless mark under the W. These mean the same thing, but don't put both of them, right? Because if the W is voiceless, then the aspiration mark is redundant. And if the aspiration mark is there, the voicelessness is kind of redundant. Both of them indicate, if you put both of them, it indicates that you don't understand one or the other of them. So one or the other. And we don't put voicelessness under vowels like the word tin, because generally the vowel is so long that it's not the whole thing that gets devoiced when you're doing the aspiration, that carryover of the voicelessness. Whereas consonants take less time, so it's possible for the whole consonant to be voiceless when you aspirate onto it. These are subtleties that you don't really need to be paying too much attention to. Just, don't do both. To be safe, just put the aspiration mark and not the voicelessness mark. Right, misaspiration. Diphthongs have given people a little bit of difficulty, both in the opening quiz and just in the transcription. Remember that a diphthong, Canadian English, English in generally treats, and a lot of other languages treat a diphthong as a unit in terms of the phonology, the sound system of the language. But phonetically, a diphthong is a diphthong because it has two parts. So when we're transcribing them phonetically, there are two symbols, and each symbol describes a different part of the phonetic character of that sound unit, that phonological unit, that sequence of pronunciation. And so if I'm asking for an IPA symbol, I'm asking for one character. And if we're looking at a diphthong, there's going to be two characters there. Just like in affricate is two characters put together. Okay, I think that's the main stuff that came out of transcriptions and whatnot. I am, right, you're doing the first lab, the second transcription is coming up, we talked about that. Oh, exams, right, so because this is an online exam, or online class, the final exam is a bit weird and it requires a little bit more work on your part than your average course. Not a lot more, I hope. Those of you who are in the area and want to come on to campus to write the final exam, you're welcome to. Please send me a note saying I would like to write the exam with you, with me, that is. You know what I mean. And I'll put you down. I'll make sure that I have a room big enough. I have a rough idea based on registrations how many people are in the Edmonton area, but it's good to confirm that. If you're not in the Edmonton area, or if you are but you aren't able to come to campus for that exam, you need to arrange a local invigilator. And there's some notes at the bottom of the e-class page in the final exam section. There's a whole bunch of stuff on what you need to do. The first thing that you need to do, and I would like you to get this done as soon as possible, is to just send me an invigilator identification. That's a form that just says, this person, this is who I want to be my invigilator. I check over that and just double check that everyone's picking appropriate invigilators, right? It's got to be someone who isn't a buddy of yours or a family member, essentially. But generally, you find someone at a local educational institution to supervise your exam. Send me those forms as soon as possible so that I have an idea of who's ready for their exam and who isn't. I'll be following up on the ones that don't get back to me. But that's, I don't have a network of people all across the country, all across the world, so that's why I need you to do a bit of the legwork there. One other thing, the information on eClass mentions the Respondus browser. I have been informed by the IT at the university that they're actually transitioning, and by the end of the term they're not going to be supporting that browser, especially on campus, which is important for the about half of the students who are going to be writing it with me. It'll probably be another browser, and as soon as they get back to me, I'm pushing them as fast as I can. I'm pushing to get that going. As soon as they get back to me that the new browser is ready, I will set things up on eClass, and I'll let you guys know. In the event that IT doesn't go as fast as it would like to go, we might end up with the Respondus browser. I kind of think not. We have a pretty good IT department. But anyway, the forms are the important thing for now. Make sure that you decide where you're going to write the exam, who you're going to write it with, and let me know so that I have that all checked off. I can, go back and forth with you. We can work stuff out if you talk to me now. If you talk to me the day before the exam is supposed to happen, there's not going to be a lot that I can do to help you, right? I've booked a room, or I'm in the process of booking a room. I've requested a room that's big enough for all the people that I think are on campus. I basically go by whether you're registered as open studies or not. So if I'm misreading that, if there's more people around, then I guess I'm going to need to book another room. So generally there's plenty of room if for all the people on campus. But anyway, get on the final exam stuff as soon as possible. I know that a lot of you are busy. You guys know that I'm busy, so we'll do what we can to help each other out for the planning, right? Finishing up acoustics this week, going into vowel acoustics next week, which really does build on the acoustics of tubes, standing wave stuff that we're talking about this week in the materials. Excuse me. And then the quiz is going to cover excuse me, all the stuff we finished by next Friday. That's when the quiz is. So general acoustics and vowel acoustics. Okay? And it's not going to rehash the stuff from the overview. The quizzes individually are not cumulative. The final exam will be, but the quizzes are not. So that's all, I think, for this week's State of the Course address. See you guys online.